Stewart here in my happy place, messing about with cameras and my mountain bike in the mountains. Can you tell from these shots why it is I'm so pleased with the new Insta360 Ace Pro? Let's talk about the 3 action camera pain points that the Ace Pro goes a long way to solving, and all will be revealed.
Pain point number 1. Action cameras have wildly wide fields of view, great for immersive action sports, not so good for general purpose usage of your camera, which lots of us buy action cameras for. A little bit of action, a little bit of travel, vlogging, all that kind of stuff. I want to be able to get close to the camera without having crazy distortion around the edge of the frame. We can now do this with the lossless 4K crop thanks to the 8K sensor. It's called Clarity Zoom, and it's a game-changing feature. Now, Clarity Zoom is amazing, but that's not the feature I wanted to bring to your attention in this video. Low light performance, not a low light environment, but this tells you everything you need to know about these two cameras. Both are shooting manual 100 ISO. Look at the shutter speeds. The Ace Pro is gathering a ton of extra light compared with the Action 4. Now that has tremendous implications in low light environments because that relationship between the two shutters is carried through from bright days to dark days. You get the idea, but that's actually still not the feature I wanted to bring your attention to in this video. Electronic image stabilization is the standout feature of an action camera as far as I'm concerned, but it has one huge drawback. It requires a very fast shutter speed to eliminate all motion blur from your footage, thereby allowing the software to realign those nice crispy frames in the camera. Now, when you're mountain biking like I have been here and you've got the shutter set to 1/2000th of a second to allow the stabilization to work, the footage doesn't look nice. It looks jaggy, there's no motion blur. It doesn't look natural, it looks like an action camera, which is why I lost my mind when I went into the Insta360 app and saw the Motion ND function.
Let's go for a spin on the mountain bike so we can see how this all works, but first things first, you must get the settings right on this camera if you want the best possible picture. We're shooting regular video, flat picture profile, 4K in one of the real-time frame rates. We've chosen horizon lock and high stabilization for this demonstration, but for your mountain bike shots you might choose a wider, more immersive field of view if you wish. Now, in the exposure settings we have things set to manual. I want to make sure the ISO stays down on 100, and in this instance we have a 1/2000th of a second shutter speed to eliminate all possible motion blur from this shaky mountain bike footage.
Now, I'm going to be a little bit careful because I'm not the world's best mountain biker, but this is getting quite steep now, quite jangly now. The stabilization should be doing a pretty good job, hopefully. Okay, we're okay. I'm sure it looks absolutely nothing on the video because you're used to watching Red Bull professional mountain bikers, but yeah, that's not me. Anyway, you get the idea. Let's put the motion blur on now. Let's switch to motion blur. I'll deliberately go over this gravel because it's jangly. Oh my goodness. It's jangly, jangly, jangly. Oh, what's this coming up now? We've got some super jaggy stuff. Right. Wheel. Oh, okay. I know from my test yesterday that a shutter speed of 1/1000th of a second would not have handled that jangly stuff back there. So we're not in a low light environment, but we need tremendous low light performance out of these cameras, because if we're going to have to crank the shutter so much, we're going to reduce the light getting in by so much. We need every little bit of help that we can with the light gathering capabilities of the sensors, which is why it's so amazing to see what Insta have done with their 8K sensor and pixel binning trickery and all that kind of stuff. How's that motion blur shaping up? Let's do a little before and after. No motion blur. Jaggy, jaggy, jaggy. 1/2000th of a second shutter. I know it does not look good. Let's put the motion blur on. Oh, so much better. So much better. So much easier to match with other camera footage as well.
Inside the Insta360 app, select the piece of footage to which you want to apply the motion blur. Scroll across and you will see Motion ND. I found that the standard settings that come up by default work absolutely perfectly. Hit export, make sure you slide those sliders up to maximum quality, maximum resolution, and fairly quickly you get your clip. I've never tried it, but I've seen motion blur quite effectively applied in After Effects. The paid-up version of DaVinci Resolve also has motion blur functionality, and there's also a plugin called Real Smart Motion Blur, but again, you have to pay for this. I had a bit of fun larking around with a selfie stick attached to this waist harness so I could get some kind of point of view following shots behind my head here with the Insta360 Ace Pro. As a side note, I had a lot of fun with the wristwatch monitor. Bluetooth control of the camera allows you to view the video feed and change all the settings. Super useful when you cannot see the camera itself. The flip screen is very good, but obviously when the camera's behind your head, you can't even use that. So that's a great accessory for sure. In this instance, it turned out that mountain biking is not a good application of this technique, and it also highlighted a limitation of the motion blur effect. Because when there's a subject in the shot, you can see that the motion blur does not perfectly cut out and fit around the subject. So I would definitely recommend you save this effect for shots where there is no subject. And as you can see here, I tried it again on a much smoother piece of road. I was able to use the watch to realign the framing and lean back a little bit, because I was able to actually look at the watch on this slightly more safe surface. And when the motion blur was applied, it looked absolutely great. We have a full review, picture comparison analysis coming up for the Insta360 Ace Pro. Do stay tuned for that. I think we can all agree that the footage looked pretty good in our video. All I would say at this stage is that there's no substitute for learning how to use a camera, learning how to get the most out of it in any given shooting environment. So stay tuned and we'll take you through all that in due course. But do leave a comment below if you have any questions or observations, and we will see you next time.